All right. Okay. Hey, good morning, all of you. I am Ashwini Siddhi, as you know. I'm the director of product security engineering at GoDaddy. I work late in the USR, so forgive me. I'm still coffee is not kicked in yet. So I ensure that we shift security left and build security first community to ensure that any of the products that we're building are received into cyber attacks. And pretty much this has been the focus in my previous lives and my previous organizations too. Before GoDaddy, I was with Dell, and before that, I was with a lot of service companies and worked with multiple clients in different domains of banking, retail, e-commerce platforms, and all of these. So I think based on all of this collective experience, I think this is a great topic on to talk about strategies for security leadership itself, right? So as security experts in the industry, we've spent n number of years, and we are really good at what we do, right? We are all experts, and we truly believe in it, and that's why I believe we are able to progress so much more further in our careers. But that's about being good technically in the aspect of the domain of cybersecurity itself. But when it comes to translating all of that knowledge into pragmatic approaches to leadership qualities, I think that's where we fall short. That's where we can certainly do better. And that's an area that is not really focused upon, right? So when we're talking about cybersecurity, we talk about pen testing, and maybe off late, there are some topics that delve deeper into what is outside of pen testing, right? Beyond pen testing. But that's still not enough, because cybersecurity is also about how you grow your people into leaders, how you make a difference at the board, how you make an organizational change with respect to security, right? So we need more people there, and we need to enable these kind of discussions and talks to make that happen, right? So that is the hope and that is the objective of this discussion, that you get away with at least some ideas on how to work on yourself to put yourself in a path to be a cybersecurity leader. So that's the thing. And the first thing about it is that we are so reliant on PPTs, right? So we are so hell bent on making perfect looking PPTs beautiful, which is great at one point, I would say. But after a point in time, you should stop relying yourself on these PPTs, right? In fact, if you have heard of the story, Jeff Bezos at Amazon, right? There was somebody who was presenting to him on a very well-made PPT, and for some reason his system was not able to go ahead with the slideshow, so he just had to bring up his notes, which was in a Word document, and share his notes to Jeff and then talk about it. And Jeff was more impressed with this documentation because it was to the point. It still gave all the relevant information, was not there were no frills added to, right? And it was easier to create one, and people were not spending a lot of time. And after that, it sort of became a culture to be creating these documents rather than PPTs, which a lot of other organizations that work closely with Amazon today follows it, right? So our first and foremost thing is to stop this over reliance on PPTs, and that's why we have no PPT here, right? So it's a session without a PPT. The point is that you should be able to communicate to stakeholders without PPT, right? Without your regular jargons, without sticking to your specific security terminologies. And when I say communication is the key for your leadership strategy, it would be like, you should be able to communicate with somebody who's joined as an intern on your team. You should be able to communicate somebody who does not understand security at all, because you're wanting to build a security community. You should be able to communicate security with your managers. You should be able to communicate security with your security architects. You should be able to communicate security to your leadership, your board, your CEO, your CISO, maybe, right? So you're not going to use the same language with all of them, right? Somewhere you'll have to tone down on the security terminologies. Somewhere you'll have to very specifically use the right words. Example, you'll have to use weakness when it is a weakness and vulnerability when it is a vulnerability, and not just an issue, right? You could say a security issue to the board, or you could say a security issue to somebody who does not understand security. But when you're talking specifics to your security architect, maybe you want to clarify if it's a weakness or a vulnerability. So the first and foremost thing to be a great leader in cybersecurity, I think, is about communicating, about understanding when we need to bring in the security aspect of things and when we need to let go of it. This is something that where most of us fall short in, right? I've seen we think that, okay, I'm going to the board, so I'm going to use the, all the jargons that I know of, and I'm going to belt it out there, wax elegant. Nobody is going to be impressed. In fact, they're going to be disappointed, and you're going to be left wondering why this happened. So the first thing, communication, right? So that is something that I really want to stress upon. All right, so I'm going to take questions while I talk about the strategies. So Babita, hi, I'm BTech study student currently looking for job opportunities in this field. Babita, sadly, the security industry is not very friendly to people who just passed out of their colleges, right? So it is mostly like, okay, have some amount of experience in development, etc. But things are changing. So I think the good thing for you would be to first reach out to a mentor, right? And who's probably established in the industry. A mentor is not somebody who can just give you technical knowledge or soft skills knowledge. A mentor is also somebody who can connect you with other folks in the industry, who can say, this is the person who can help you with probable job openings. This is the person who can refer you elsewhere, right? So you can get a mentor to help you with networking itself. So that kind of opens up different job opportunities for you. So even if not like a full-time security job right away, you can start off as an intern. But if you are really fortunate enough to find the right set of people, you can start off as a fresher in the right security domain, because there are n number of domains around it, and get yourself started on this journey. So I would say first thing first, get a mentor for yourself. Yes, so this is the thing with our industry, right? So um, a minimum of 1 year is great, Babita. At one point, it was like minimum of 5 years. So you had to spend time in the development or to understand how things work. So what I would suggest is that when somebody is looking for a 1 year experience, right? So what they're trying to see is that if you understand how development teams work, if you know their language, if you're able to talk to them at their language, right? So it is up to you to showcase that, yes, I understand how development teams work, what is the software development process like, or maybe even hardware, how things happen, is it agile? So showcase these understandings of these development teams, also about some security terminologies and how you would communicate to them. So having that, I think, will give you some sort of um, uh, you know uh, leeway above others, because you are displaying attributes that would come by spending time with these folks, right? So by understanding these aspects already and displaying them, you're proving them that you're way ahead of the curve, and you don't really need to be spending that time and investing 1-2 years in a different team to be up to speed, right? So spend time probably in reading and talking to people, listening to podcasts, and update yourself with these concepts. So it'll be easier for you to get to those discussions. And like I said, networking will get you only so far. It might get you an interview call, even if that 1 year thing does not apply to you. Even if you're not eligible, you might still get that call, right? Networking will help you with it. But after that, how do you make that happen? How do you convince the interviewer that I don't have this experience, but I'm still willing to see, I've already invested in the time and effort here. So that shows potential, that shows passion and interest. So a lot of us hire based on potential, because honestly, somebody has given a chance on us, right? Has taken a chance on us. So we want to pay that back to the industry. So if you ask me, I would prefer somebody who's displayed that passion and interest and potential. I would hire them over somebody who knows it all and is arrogant about, I know it all, right? So this is not a negative attribute, it's a positive attribute. You can show potential, you can show passion, and you can show interest when you do things right with it, Kavita. I hope I've answered your question around this. Babita? Yeah, so I, considering that I'm not seeing anything, I assume I've answered your question, right? All right, sounds good. Hi, Sarita. Hi, Sarita. Do you have any question? I just see a hi. Okay, I don't see any questions from Sarita, so I will continue the one-sided talk, right? So if you do have questions, please type in because this is an open Q&A. That is the most important aspect and not about me talking. Hey, Suraya, good to see you here. All right. So, what next after communication, right? So, what is the most important thing? So, when we, as obviously, we would have started as individual contributors in our career, right? We don't right away start as managers unless you come with an MBA degree or some sort of a management degree. We start off as individual contributors, and that jump from an individual contributor to a program manager or to a director is very difficult on your personality itself, right? When I say personality, as an individual contributor, you want to get your hands dirty, you want to do all things tech. You're hired because of that attribute of yours where you know tech stuff, and using the tech stuff you can drive the strategy, right? But if you're using that tech knowledge to still continue to get your hands dirty, it's not going to help the cause. You can only do so much, and if you try doing everything, you're going to get burnt out, right? Because as a manager, as a director, or any leader, you're going to be responsible for an umbrella of things in security, not just one aspect. Maybe as an individual contributor, you owned 2 3 programs and you had to drive it, you make it happen. You took ownership, you got your hands dirty and made it happen. But as a leader, you have so many more things, and at great speed. A lot of your work is about building relationships, about driving the culture, and not about getting your hands dirty, right? So you'll have to remind yourself that I'm no longer in this role. I'm in this new role where my tech knowledge is used to drive the strategy to achieve different results. So it's important to identify that what your goals are, right? So it's important to make that transition and don't have to prove to everybody that I'm technical, I know it all, kind of a thing, right? So you'll have to let go of that. So when you become like a leadership above a director level role, a lot of people assume that you don't have technical knowledge. It's okay, leave them to those assumptions. You don't have to prove a point that no, I'm still technical despite being a director, right? You don't have to make that point. So choose your battles and identify what is important and stick to those goals, and go around building a value in what the role is expected to be of, right? Not what you were previously. You cannot get to the future by continuously doing what you were doing in the past, right? You'll have to learn those things. You'll have to update your um, roles and capabilities and then move forward. So it's important to let go of what's in the past and start focusing on the current. And the first way of doing it is to build a team. So, right, when a lot of new leader folks would think that, okay, I have this strategy, I want to achieve this goal, I want to shift security left, I want to move SDL in the cloud, great stuff, right? Great goals. You will not achieve any of them unless you have a great team who believes in you, who support you, and who's as passionate as you, and who are different from you, right? So it's important to build the right team. When I say build the right team, you don't always want to have people who support you, right? It's good to have people who support you. At least the 90% of the team should support you, but there has to be one person who can play the devil's advocate, right? Who can challenge you, who can work courageously, who can say that no, I don't like how this is, why is this like this, why can't we do it the other way, this is not efficient. You don't want yes people on your team. You want people who can think, you want people who can ask you questions without you taking that personally or to your ego. You want people who can bring in different perspectives and ideas to the table and drive innovation, right? So it's important to build the right team, and to build the right team, you'll have to spend that time and effort. It means that you will have to probably spend, I know it's a talent acquisition team's job, but they're still going to pass on the profiles to you, right? You will have to spend time looking at probably 100, 200 profiles and then meet about 50 people and spend that time to build your team. On paper, you cannot translate it to saying that I looked at 100 profiles, I interviewed 50 people. It amounts to nothing, right? There's no OKR around it. But still, when you hire the right person, when that right person joins your team, things are going to go so quick and so fast. They translate into your goals, and they are results that you can go and show up to your goal. So don't think that spending time on looking through profiles and talking to candidates is a waste of time, but do realize that it is setting the foundation for uh, reaching your goals much quicker and in an efficient manner. So building the right team is the third thing that your leadership strategy has to involve, right? First one is your communication skills. Second one is letting go of what you were and being on the new path. And third one would be about hiring the right team for yourself. Right. So any other questions around these important points for leadership strategies? No? Okay. Any other questions in general about cybersecurity itself? Okay. All right. I assume that there's no more questions around this side, so I'm going to continue. So I was really hoping to make it interactive, but not a problem if you don't have questions. So what happens after you build a team, right? Can your team still do everything? Okay, sorry, I'm going to stop for a question. How you started your journey, like you've done certification, doing certifications really matter. So Babita, okay, I don't have my classes, so it's Bibita, right? I hope I spelled your name right. So I don't have, I do have certifications, but I don't have like a CISSP, like a lot of people do, right? I mean, I personally don't think certifications are really important uh, for your career as such, right? So I will come to the point when it can be useful, but I don't think it's like the thing that will get you the right jobs and all of these things. I started my journey as a developer because back then that was the happening thing, right? Write lines of code. I did my engineering and joined this company as a developer. I spent some time, about 6 months or so. It was all right because I just joined a new team and everything. So it was fun, but I couldn't imagine doing this myself for the rest of my life, right? That's not to say coding is bad, right? Coding is great. I still like coding. But what happened back then is that somebody sitting in some part of the world whom you didn't even see was giving you instructions on what code you have to write, right? There was no outlet for creativity. There was no opportunity to build anything. Currently, I know there are opportunities you can do things yourself, but back then it was not. And I didn't want to be stuck in a loop where I thought, okay, I would just have somebody give me instructions and I write my lines of code. That was very depressing for me to think that all my life, 20 years, I'm going to spend like this every day, wake up and do this. So I really wanted to do something different. I did not know what it would be. But I had this habit of first thing in the morning, opening up a website and reading all news. And that's where I read about OWASP top 10. That was the first OWASP top 10 that was released. And they were talking about the cross-site scripting attack. So it was really interesting to me. And I was like, why don't we do such things in our organization, right? So, and also another good thing that I had was I was good with networking, at least back then. Right now, currently, I'm just working. So I was good with people and I had a lot of people to talk with. So during lunch, I was talking with somebody I knew that why don't we do something like this within an organization. That's when I got to know there's already a really small team. They're not revenue generating, so they're not really popular or anything. So they do some things, right? So I went and reached to this person saying that I would love to be part of your team. They said you'll have to go through an interview process and everything. So I read up all artifacts on the internet. There was no concept of a mentor back then, and there was nobody to sponsor me. So I read up things, I installed web code, I tried some hands-on, managed to clear the interview, but that was just the first hurdle. And after that, getting in there and convincing people that this is not just a passing fancy, that I'm here for good, and proving that, what I do really matters was a different story. But that's how I started my journey. And the certifications, I eventually did get a ethical hacking certification. That was only because one of the clients in Australia was adamant that, okay, whoever you send from your organization for this work will need to have a certification. So I got that certification. And then that was the only certification I had for a long time. And then I moved to a couple of different organizations, and there it was a culture, right, about continuous training and learning. So we were given vouchers every year to, and it's a great opportunity to show to your manager, yes, I'm invested in continuous learning. So you take that certification up, and that's how I got multiple certifications. But otherwise, I wouldn't say in this world it's like really mandatory. If you're finding it difficult to break into the industry, then yes, having a CEH as a way to break into the industry is good. Or even the offensive security certifications is good if you want to be a pen tester. It'll, maybe the recruiters will reach out to you. But I know I'm building a team. I don't look at certifications. It's, people can have 10 certifications and they're good with no knowledge, right? So it's not the break thing or a making thing. So if you have the time and bandwidth, and if you're interested, and if you think that currently you're not moving anywhere, then go ahead for the certification. But otherwise, personally, I would say it's not like, oh yes, we need a certification. I don't think so. Yeah, I'm glad one of you agrees to it. And yeah, I have people quoting similar experiences. A lot of times it's multiple choice questions people mug up and go, and they don't even remember about it the next day, right? So, yeah, so what goal does it achieve? If you're going to retain all of it and then use it, maybe still makes sense. But yeah, it's a pragmatic approach. There are like n number of certifications. Maybe if you want to break into cloud security, get a CCSA. You want to break into cybersecurity, get a CEH. So these two are sufficient, right? But do I really need a CISSP? Blah blah blah. I don't think so. Not even to grow into a leader. I don't think so. Hey Simran, nice meeting you here. So Supriya, I think in the security domain itself, the fact the cloud security aspect is a gap. I wouldn't say booming, right? You wouldn't want to look at what is booming. You want to look at where is the gap and try to fill that gap so that your skill is niche and so that all companies run behind you trying to offer you crores of rupees, right? That should be your goal. So a lot of workloads are moving into the cloud. Cloud adoption from the pandemic has been uh, exponentially hit the roof, right? Everybody is trying to move to the cloud. But traditional security folks come from traditional backgrounds, right? They understand on-prem solutions, they understand on-prem networks to a great extent. They can talk about security for web applications and network to a great extent. They're really good there, no doubt. But when it comes to cloud security, if you go and look at the profiles, there are people who call themselves cloud security engineers, right? But what they would have done is they would have configured a web application firewall on the cloud. They would have enabled NACLs. They would have enabled some rules and policies, and they call themselves cloud security engineer, right? So that is not what security is about, not about configuring tools. Yes, maybe some hands-on knowledge about 1 second. Bombarded with job people. That is the most hot thing that should be setting now. But honestly, I've been looking for such folks in the last 6 months, and I've not found anybody so far. Right. So that is something that, if you're willing to invest time in, you can really go achieve. I had muted you for a second. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Ramya. Being from data engineer background since 2 years, what are the possible opportunity to shift a career to cybersecurity? Hey, Ramya, so that's a good opportunity, right? So when you're a data engineer, you understand data very well, right? Probably better than what a regular security engineer would understand. It means that you can use these concepts as a base and start trying to shift to data security engineering itself. So data security engineering is a domain which sort of falls between security and privacy, right? Privacy comes in with compliance and all of these aspects, and about designing with privacy in mind, privacy by design. And security controls are what achieves this privacy by design, right? Like encryption and authentication and authorization to all of these, right? Sensitive data. So all of these security controls that apply to it, you can start off with learning about them, about understanding what data security involves, investing in that knowledge, and then getting some hands-on to it. And once you feel confident about that, you can move into a full-fledged security engineering role. By then, you would have enough experience to move into the lead role itself for a security engineering role, and you don't have to start fresh as a security engineer. So I think it's a great opportunity. This is something that you should consider doing. Data security engineering, right? Look it up and what it entails, and it's going to give you all the specific details. And we have ChatGPT now, right? So it's going to give you all the controls around it, etc. Okay, so Anita, I don't get your question about what what is that with cybersecurity leadership around auditing experience that you're looking for? Are you is it about how do you go on to become a leader, drive a team and strategy around auditing and be the leader for it? Is that your question? Okay, I don't see her response. So I just have about a minute, I think, and I was told that the session disconnects automatically once the time is over. Um, so there are I want to shift from audits to cybersecurity industry. Okay, great. I think auditing is a great start because you already know what controls should be in place, right? And you need to understand where your existing skill fits into the cybersecurity industry. So you'll be good in terms of like a GRC team, governance, risk, and compliance team, which is trying to help people be compliant against all of these standards, right? Or so you will go to the teams and probably do security assessments internally to see if they are compliant. If they're not, you give them guidance on how they can be compliant, what are the controls that they need to be put in place. So this is a good place to start. So start looking for teams that work in GRC or security assessments, and put in your foot there. And once you've entered the door, you will start gaining more knowledge because you'll also interface with the other product security teams, and then you'll pick up the knowledge, and about like 2-3 years later you can decide if you really want to stay in GRC security assessments or you want to move into product security, do threat modeling. So you can take a call, right? So the first thing is to get your leg foot in the door, and that is through GRC and security teams. So look for GRC or risk analyst roles, or compliant lead, or GRC lead roles in organizations. So I think we are over time. Neelam, I'm not sure what happens now. So should we still continue? Are there people with questions or? All right. I think, there could be n number of questions, right? Today you just have one, and tomorrow you might have three more as you progress in the industry. So I'm always available to talk, to get on a call with you and talk about it. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I believe that it's one of my mottos in life to help people who are interested in this career. Right? Somebody took a chance on me some years ago, and I want to be able to pay that back in the world. Right? So that's my only goal. So if you feel that you need some guidance, need me to connect you with somebody, please reach out to me, and I'm more than willing to talk to you about it. So glad that all of you are here and spending time early in the morning. So all the best to all of you in your careers. Hoping to see a lot more great leaders from India in the cybersecurity industry itself. So thank you, Neelam, and thank you all of you. Have a good rest of the day. Bye.